So we have with us Mr. Panditrao. Welcome to BW's World. So my first question to you is how Gen AI is shaping India's technological landscape and digital economy. So Gen AI, at least I work in the space of e-commerce, and where we are seeing this being used a lot is one is content creation, which is where you had to create a lot of content about your products. It's becoming a lot easier to do that at scale. The other areas is support, so handling support queries, how to make sure that customers get their answers without really having to spend on a large workforce that can answer these questions, right? So that's the second area that we are saying. And what we spend a lot of time working on is assisting with decision making. So how can brands and companies make better decisions using predictive AI and then eventually consuming it via Gen AI. So these are some of the areas where we are seeing this being used quite a bit.
So we are talking about brands and companies. So do you think India's business ecosystem is utilizing Gen AI to its full potential?
So it's getting there. Definitely got a lot of interest. Everybody's trying to do something, but it's not woven into the fabric yet. But everybody's actively working on it. So you will see a lot of very good use cases being used on a regular basis in the coming months. So getting there very fast.
Okay, so we are talking about this rapidly changing technology. Do you think it poses any threat to personal data and privacy, data security?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's always been a lot of data that's been around, but now there are, public models where this data is being fed, where they are learning off of, like ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a challenge, whether to open up your internal data banks, whether to open up your information to this open network and what will happen to it. There's a lot of work being done in that front as well. People are trying to use open source in-house. But yes, it's a challenge if not managed properly. Your data could be out there for anyone to use. Yeah.
So how do you think that industry stakeholders and government can collaborate together to solve such issues?
So I think it's a little early for the government to actually start setting up policies. I think we saw some of that happening in the US, but it's very difficult to do that right today. It was very early. I think setting up broad guidelines or broad guardrails is good enough for now. But I think something that the government needs to keep watching over time. I think it's time to let industries innovate and do a lot today without really worrying about regulation and then tightening regulation over time.
So do you think that India can become a AI capital in the world, and especially when Western powers have much more resources in terms of innovation?
Yeah. So I think there are two ways to look at it. One is fundamental AI, which is building models and training models, etc. The second is application. I definitely see India doing really well in the second part, which is applying a lot of this. A lot of problems that we can solve and are being effectively solved. But on the fundamental generation piece, early days, a lot of work being done, but hoping that India can stand up to the rest of the world in that space as well.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time.